Tell me about Elizabeth Mills Oakden Taylor.
Elizabeth Oakden Mills Whitaker.
Who was she?
She was my great-great-great-grandmother on my mother's side.
And tell me her story, her big story.
When she was 12 or 14, I don't remember which, they were crossing the plains with the pioneers headed to the Salt Lake Valley. And the one story that she's famous for, at least in our family, is that one night the wagon train that she was in formed their circle. Early the next morning they were attacked by a band of Indians. She was in the back of one of the wagons watching over one of the children. This Indian, he comes up to the back of the wagon, peers in, and he sees her, and he literally grabbed her and pulled her out of the wagon and put her on his horse in front of him. And she's fighting him. She bit him on the chest enough that it made it bleed pretty well, because as he then pulled her face into his chest while they then rode off into their camp, it was far enough that her face kind of stuck to his chest because of the dried blood. She obviously was a fighter. Finally they get to the camp, but in the morning he took her and somehow instructed her to fix breakfast for them. And he came over, and she was over the fire and was about to flip a pancake with some utensil. He came over, and with his hand, he went to grab it off the griddle, and she smacked his hand with the spatula, whatever it was that she was using. It was enough that he laughed about it and thought it was pretty great. When the men from the wagon train finally found them, they had gathered up animals and blankets and things that they could trade for her. He didn't want to trade her. And there was a stick that, for the Indians, that represented, if she took the stick, that she accepted his proposal for marriage. And so as her father came closer, he yelled out, "Elizabeth, do not take the stick." And so when it was offered to her and she wouldn't take it, apparently this brave became irritated by that and finally made the exchange.
So she
finally made it. She finally made it with her wagon train to the Salt Lake Valley, and if I remember correctly, Elizabeth ended up having several children, over 10.
And she was known for her spitfire fighter attitude.
She must have been.